If you're like most of us, you probably heard people say, "Don't buy that. It's not worth the money." I had one and I hated it. Sometimes the peanut gallery is right, and sometimes it's wrong. Today, let's talk about some landscape photography gear that I was told not to buy, but I did it anyway. And I absolutely can't live without these things. Let's get to it. Over and over again, I hear graduated neutral density filters are junk. They're just obsolete. We often allow ourselves to be heavily influenced by others. But once that seed is planted, we seldom change our minds. But just because something is not popular or deemed obsolete doesn't mean that it should be just treated like it's radioactive. The fact is, I love this filter, and I've used ND grads for years. Most photographers are going to tell you that these are just not needed. Everything can be done in post. They're worthless. But if you're a regular subscriber to the channel, you'll know that I have a different opinion on filters. This 3-stop ND grad may not work in every situation, but it has its uses. Of course, the main purpose is to help bring balance to high dynamic range scenes, and I find that a 3-stop tends to offer the best balance in most situations. I use it in extremely bright skies where high dynamic range may result in a loss of detail on the highlights. I hear photographers say all the time, you don't want to bake in a filter into the image. I'll often capture at least one image before putting on the filter. This way I have both images to compare in post. After years of using graduated neutral density filters, I can't even think of a single time where I've ruined an image. I often hear people say that you can't use an ND grad unless the horizon is completely unobstructed, like trees and mountains that cross the horizon into the sky. I just couldn't disagree more with this. A graduated neutral density filter it's extra long, and there's plenty of room to position the filter and provide a more natural gradient. Remember, it's a graduated neutral density filter. In a particular scene, you may or may not decide to use the filter, but when you have the filter in your possession while in the field, you have options. I use ND grads because I want to capture the most detail in the highlights possible while I'm in the field. I primarily shoot at sunrise and sunset, and I find ND grads to be extremely valuable in the field. Now, if you disagree, that's okay. As I mentioned earlier, we all have opinions, but just because others don't use them, that's just not good enough. It's just not a good enough reason for me to say, well, I'm not going to use them because everybody else doesn't. Let's shift gears and talk about ultra-wide-angle lenses like Nikon's 14 to 24 millimeter. Like the ND grad, I hear the same thing. You don't need an ultra-wide-angle lens for landscape photography. Honestly, you don't need a camera for photography either. I mean, why not just use your phone? Or for that matter, why not just find another hobby? Look, shooting ultra-wide-angle is fun, and there's worse things that one could do with one's time. But like I've said many times, it's all about your style of photography. I could cover all the benefits of an ultra-wide-angle lens, but I'll give you just one: creativity. No other lens offers a photographer such a wide range of creative choices in the field. Now, we could shoot everything with a 50 millimeter lens, but where's the fun in that? The truth is, I enjoy this lens, and I'm certainly not ashamed to admit it. In fact, some of my favorite images were captured between 14 and 24 millimeters. Making these images with any other lens just wouldn't have been possible. Honestly, I wouldn't part with this lens for anything. On that note, let's talk about another lens that we often hear is unnecessary for landscape photography, and that's the tilt-shift lens. For years I made do with other lenses, manipulating the image in Lightroom to straighten out trees and other objects. However, like an itch that I just couldn't reach, there were moments where I felt that if I'd only had a tilt-shift lens, it just would have been able to help me make that image so much better. And I admit, forum after forum, video after video, there they were, telling me I didn't need a tilt-shift lens. And I believed it until I actually had one at my full disposal. And like many things, you can do without it until you have it. Sure, maybe you don't need a tilt-shift lens, but when you have one in your bag, you stop telling yourself you can make do without it, and you start pulling it out and using it. It may not be as often as you reach for other lenses, but like the ultra-wide angle, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But of all the things I've heard people say are unnecessary, the one thing that gets me the most excited? Lens hoods. I remember years ago people telling stories about tossing their lens hoods in the trash, using them as door stops and paperweights. I can't tell you the number of times I heard someone say, "What am I supposed to do with this?" Occasionally, you'll still catch someone shooting with a lens hood turned around backwards on their lens. I remember asking myself many years ago, why would an engineer design something that was so worthless? Surely it must have some larger purpose. Of course they do. They prevent stray light from causing glare and lens flare. In bright sunlight, they help improve contrast and saturation. And above all, they protect the lens from damage. Things like branches and accidental collisions from protruding objects, which can lead to some nasty scratches on your lens. I'm just going to touch on this one, and that's the cable release. When was the last time you saw somebody using one? With self-timers, there's no need to use a remote or an attached cable release, right? We're told that mirrorless cameras have made cable release just obsolete. But be that as it may, the camera self-timer doesn't allow one to fire the shutter at a precise moment. Yes, 2 seconds can make a huge difference. Imagine you're on a beach and you're shooting rolling waves. How do you capture the perfect wave with a 2-second delay? And there's another thing that's missing. It's the personal connection with the composition. A cable release allows the photographer to step back, to get away from the LCD and break free of the camera controls, to engage with their surroundings and to fully concentrate on the exact moment the time is frozen. The self-timer, it simply can't do that. It doesn't work like that. For me, the camera release is just as important as the camera itself. The last thing I'll mention, and for decades we've certainly been told they're obsolete, that's film cameras like the Nikon FE. Truly, I love them as much today as I did when I was a kid. Film still brings value to many of our lives, and I'm not ready to just give that up for any time soon. Film is still in production, and these old film cameras are still around. Although the Nikon FE may not be the staple of modernity, it stood the test of time, and it still delivers stunning images. Indeed, there's something special about shooting film. Maybe it's nostalgia, but it's an experience worth having. If you want to learn more about film, or if you're considering a 35mm film camera, watch this video right here. See you on the trail.